Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be another series check-in or a series audit for last year 2022, as well as my goals going forward into 2023. I was inspired to do quarterly-ish, I'm really bad at staying on top of it, series check-ins by Abby Salter, so I will link her down below. She does this every quarter, like I mentioned, the series that she has finished, started, and continued. But before hopping too far into today's video, if you're new here, hello, my name is Emily. This is MacInnis Mama, where you will find mostly bookish content. Occasionally there will be more of a lifestyle style video going up on my channel. I'm actually planning a budget freezer meals video coming up shortly, so if that's not your thing, that is totally fine. The next video on this channel will most likely be a book related one. I don't recall at the beginning of 2022 how many series I was in the middle of, but I can tell you that at January 2023 I was in the middle of 38. That's a lot. That is absurd, honestly. But I kept track of the series I completed, DNF'd, and caught up on in 2022. So that is where I would like to start. So let's first talk about the series I finished. So completed series that are finished. I no longer will have any books coming out, or so I thought. For example, The Arc of Scythe, I thought was just going to be the trilogy. And now the new book Gleanings came out recently, so now that's like back on my series list, which is a little frustrating, but these ones should be done for now. So I finished The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Myers, the first one being Cinder. This is a YA sci-fi series that are like fairy tale retellings. I didn't have a fun time reading this series, but the last two books I just felt like were entirely too long, and yet by the end of the series I didn't feel like it wrapped up well enough. Like there were still some plot points that weren't like finished. Does that make sense? But overall I enjoyed it. I'm glad I got them from the library, as I know I won't be rereading those. I finally finished The Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo. I loved this duology. I have the unpopular opinion where I actually liked Six of Crows more than Crooked Kingdom. This is a YA fantasy series following the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and so now I need to read Rule of Wolves, but that's technically a new series, so I'm counting Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom as completing a series. Heist, cool atmosphere. I will say, the reason why I liked Crooked Kingdom less than Six of Crows is because in typical fantasy series, the first book, the scope or lay of the land, whatever, is smaller, and then as the series goes on, you see more and more of the world, more characters, etc. I feel like this duology did it the opposite way, where we had this really big scope, this big adventure in the first book, and then the second book was just like within the city of Ketterdam. Does that make any sense? Anyways, I also started and finished the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. This is top 5 series for me now. I can't believe it took me so long to read them. I absolutely loved my time reading the series and actually plan to reread it in 2023, which is crazy to think about because I don't typically make time for rereads, though I would love to. I just feel like so many books, so little time, and I'm not a fast reader, that I hate to kind of feel that rereads are like kind of like a waste of time for me. I don't want to feel that way, but that like honestly is how I feel. But I am rereading Throne of Glass in 2023. What was interesting with Throne of Glass, in my opinion, was that Assassin's Blade, Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, really felt YA to me. And then the middle books in the series kind of felt new adult-ish. And then the finale, while not adult epic fantasy levels, like still kind of scaled a little bit to the younger side, I really felt like if you were reading the Throne of Glass books as they were being released, the series in tone and like age group kind of like grew up with the audience. Does that make sense? And actually, in enjoying Throne of Glass, I've kind of decided to dabble a little bit more in YA fantasy again, which is exciting. I started and finished the Ravenhood trilogy by Kate Stewart. This is a dark romantic suspense type series, and I had a great time. My enjoyment dwindled with each book, but it was still like 5 stars, 4.5 stars, 4 stars, or something like that. Like I still had a really great time. And if you're into romance with some darker topics, some suspenseful elements, I would definitely recommend giving that one a try. It kind of goes on and off of Kindle Unlimited if you have that subscription. I don't know if it's currently on there. I do have the paperbacks, but ironically, with all the series of these that I own, I have loaned out and don't have them on my shelves right now. I also finished the Bellinger Sisters by Tessa Bailey. This was One Hot Summer, which I read in 2021. Loved it, gave it 5 stars. And then the second book, which I don't actually remember the name of at this moment. The one following Hannah, the sister, and Fox. Anyways, I didn't love that one as much, which was really disappointing for me. I feel like part of the reason why is because I didn't fully get like the music references, which was a big part in that series. But those were the only 5 series that I've actually finished, crossed off the list. I am done with. 2 series that I'm caught up on, the first being Saga, the sci-fi graphic novel series. We waited a long time for volume 10, I think, which I got right away from my library, and it was such a disappointment for me. Saga has consistently been 4 or 5 stars every volume. Volume 9 ended in a massive, heartbreaking cliffhanger. And then volume 10 was just so lackluster to me. It was fine, but I feel like nothing really happened. I was really disappointed in that, to the point that I am unsure if I'm going to rush out for volume 11 whenever that comes out. And then I have A Court of Thorns and Roses, which I read and finished for the first time in 2022. Well, I read A Court of Thorns and Roses, the first book, in 2018 and never continued. But I reread that, continued on with the series, finished right up to A Court of Silver Flames. Loved it, had the best time as well. I hate to be so basic, but I love Sarah J. Maas. I also love John Gwynne, Brandon Sanderson, like these big adult epic fantasy names as well. But there's something so readable and enjoyable about Sarah J. Maas's writing. I love the characters. The plot is just fun. I read through those books so fast. I'm currently reading Crescent City, and she's topping the list. I don't like picking firm favorites, but she is in the top 5 favorite authors of mine, and I feel like she gets kind of a bad rap, or if you love Sarah J. Maas, people kind of look down their nose at you, but I don't care. I love her books. And then there were 3 series that I decided to DNF in 2022, the first being The Diviners by Libba Bray. I wanted to love this series so much. I read the first 2 out of 4, and they were fun, they were fine. But the longer that this sat on my list of series I need to complete, the less and less I cared. Each spooky season that came around, as this is a YA paranormal historical series, I just wasn't in the mood. It has been years, so I just don't care. Like I said, too many books, too little time. I'm not going to force myself to read the last 2 books especially since the last book was a disappointment for many who loved the first three. And while I liked the first two that I read, I'm not a diehard fan, so I'm just deleting that off my list. Then I have the Hunted series by Ivy Smoke. I read the first book. This is a college spicy romance with a professor situation. I read the first book for part of Aurelium. I needed to read a book with Hunted in the title or series name, so this was the Hunted series. Awful. Well and truly awful. One of the worst books I have ever read. The writing was awful, the characters were awful, the spicy scenes were fantastic, but the plot was awful and the characters and everything that I just said, that I did not enjoy my time. And those books are not that short. So I've just decided I do not want to continue that series. And then I have the Dark Eyes duet by Karina Halley. I read Black Sunshine, liked it well enough. I did have some problems with it, but it was fine. There are short, fast reads available on Kindle Unlimited. This is a paranormal romance between vampires set in modern times. And the second book had the cringiest sex scene I have ever been forced to read. I just couldn't get on with it. I got it like 23% through that book. I know people said it got better and I missed like really great spicy scenes, and the plot was actually really good, and then there's like spin-off series. I just don't care. I didn't like the characters. The dialogue was awful to the point where like I would be reading it and be like, nobody speaks like this. This is so stupid. I do not care. DNF'd. So that was a wrap up for 2022 of 10 series, which I think is really good. 5 that I completed, 2 I'm caught up on, and 3 that I DNF'd. I would like to exceed that. And like I said, actually now, as it's the middle of January, I have 39 series on the go. I have started 2 series. The Twisted series by Anna Huang was on my January TBR along with Crescent City, but I've also finished a series already this year. And there are quite a few on my list that I just have one book left, whether that is to catch up and then I'm going to be waiting for a sequel again, or just one book left to be completely done with the series. I feel like I should have a goal to get this number of total series down because 39 is overwhelming to me. At this point, I do, unless I'm reading the sequels like within a few months, I do find I need to look up summaries or watch recaps on YouTube for certain series, and I don't want to have to do that. But at the same time, I don't have the self-discipline or super strong desire to like force myself to finish 2 series before starting 1, even though logically that's probably how I should be doing it. Maybe I need to join the Final Book Support Group readathons to really knock these out. I will say there are a couple series here that I feel that I could finish relatively easily. But first there's 4 series, 2 of which I started in 2018, 2 of which I started in 2019. I want those off, and then I'll have from 2020 on. I think I need to either decide to DNF these or continue and finish them. And that is the Shadowhunter series by Cassandra Clare, which that's a big undertaking. I've only read 3 books. So now I'm on to Clockwork Angel, and I would like to just finish that whole universe this year. Those are fast reads for me. I think if I actually just buckled down and made it a goal, I could do that. I could probably read a couple in a month. I have the Nevernight Chronicles by Jay Kristoff. I own the second book. I have read Nevernight before, but I do want to reread it. So I have Nevernight and God's Grave out from the library. I do want to film reading that series. It was voted on by you guys quite a while ago, so I apologize to like binge the series and vlog my experience. I have the Truly Devious series, which I'm a little confused by. I've read 2 of them. And so I'm on to The Hand on the Wall, but books keep coming out in this series, but is it like a trilogy and a trilogy, or is it a trilogy and then kind of like standalone-ish after that? Like, at what point can I call this series done if I keep reading it? You know what I mean? And then I have Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I will need to reread Red Rising, but I loved that. This is adult sci-fi, kind of like the Hunger Games set on Mars. And yeah, I loved Red Rising, but never continued because I'm always getting distracted by new shiny things. And I've also, it's been very clear to me as the years have gone on how my reading has changed. I used to read more fantasy, sci-fi, and in recent years, or maybe in the last few months, I'm not sure, I'm reading more 50-50 romance and fantasy, and I tend to prioritize romance because they're so much faster, and a lot of them are on Kindle Unlimited. But I have this entire bookshelf is my TBR, and there's a lot of like big chunky fantasy books on here that I do need to get to. So if you missed it, I have These Books Will Self-Destruct in 23 and 2023, and that is really focusing on honing in on my physical TBR. Another one that's going to get knocked off really fast is Legendborn. Bloodmarked recently came out in November. I currently have that out from the library. I will finish that. The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson, Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. Those are finales that I can read. I can catch up on the Plated Prisoner series very easily as I only have Glow to finish, but I am waiting for Gold to release in the summer. And then I have a bunch of fantasy romance and romance series that I can read through very quickly. So in conclusion, I would like to wrap up 5 series a quarter. That should bring me to 20 series versus the 10 series that I did in 2022. Can I double my progress? I am not sure. It is January 17th as I'm filming this. I'm not sure when it goes up, hopefully today or tomorrow, and I've already finished 1. So wrapping up a series for me is finishing the series in totality to completion, officially DNFing the series, not just to help with my numbers, but like really truly feel I'm never going to continue, and catching up on a series to what has been published. I'm going to consider that done for the purposes of this because I cannot actually make any more progress. Let me know what you think of that. Are you also in the middle of way too many series? Which series do you think I should focus on to get to my 5 for the first quarter? I am going to try and do better, but quarterly updates, again, inspired by Abby Salter. And I'm going to stop rambling. We like to ramble a lot over here on my channel, and my voice is going, so it is telling me that I have to be done. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up so that I know, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!